Greg, I always mispronounce your last name. I say your last name like 30 times, 30 different ways, don't I?
It's Madia, like
Madia.
like
Okay.
the movies, the Tyler Perry movies.
Like the fantastic Tyler Perry movies. Greg Madia, DNR JMU football writer. Jim Sacco, DNR sports editor. Behind us, a frigid Bridgeport Stadium that just saw a pretty frigid football game. If your name is Sam Houston State University, what is this? I mean, 65-7, holding the #1 ranked offense nationally to 270 yards, well below their 507 clip, I believe, per game of their averages per year. What does it say about James Madison University? Forget Sam Houston at this point. What does it say about the Dukes?
Yeah, I think what it says, especially defensively, is that the team is starting to grow, or is growing really, kind of game by game. And if you look at what JMU had planned going into this one, I think Bob Trott wanted to get his cornerbacks and his safeties in one-on-one spots with some of those talented Sam Houston State wide receivers. He wanted to see how long they could last in those one-on-one matchups, and kind of to not only the surprise of us up here in the press box, but even to him when I talked to him post game, he had said he was even surprised how well they held up in one-on-one coverage. He said, of course, they're talented, they can run, they're very good athletes. Guys like Taylor Reynolds and Curtis Oliver, Charles Tutt and Jimmy Moreland, but to hold up a whole game and to play as many plays as they played, especially when you think about how JMU did with its special teams, turning Sam Houston State over and scoring on special teams that way, that meant more snaps for the defense. And they held up against Jeremiah Briscoe, who came in only one passing touchdown shy of the Division I record, and he didn't get it.
He's going home one shy of the Division I record.
Yeah, and Briscoe, he kind of looked uncomfortable throughout the game, and JMU did a good job, I think, of at least getting a little pressure on him. And Martez Stone had a sack. They had the sack that was registered a safety when he had the intentional grounding. That was given to Holloway, Demetrius Holloway. And it really was one of those games where it just kept going for JMU, and that defense was, I mean, if you think about how far they've come from the beginning of the year to now, it's night and day.
Not 9 pass breakups on that defense, 3 by Oliver, 3 by Moreland. I mean, it was just a spectacular showing, and it's like like you were talking about, we were all kind of surprised up here. I think we were expecting a little more of a football game from that Sam Houston offense. There was some Twitter talk. It might have been Briscoe was wearing gloves. Afterward, we found out that that injury was still nagging him, and Coach Case Keeler told us that he didn't know until today if he was going to play or not.
Yeah, Keeler, earlier this week on the Southland teleconference, he had said that they were going to try to get him into practice. He had thrown a little bit. I think that was maybe Tuesday or Wednesday. He had thrown a little bit, and they were going to try to build him up toward Friday, and then once he got to Friday, he would be able to go. But Keeler tonight in his post-game press conference said the elbow injury, which was banged up in that second-round win over Chattanooga, it wasn't there. And when you miss a week of practice with the offense they run, that air raid scheme that they run, everything is kind of dependent on good timing and on the timing with the wide receivers, and it clearly was not there tonight. His throws, maybe some of them were crisp, maybe some of them were okay, but his receivers and him weren't on the same page. They didn't help him out either, though. A bunch of drops for those receivers, too.
Okay, enough about the Bearcats. I mean, the big thing here, I think, after that was, the JMU. I mean, is just rolling and rolling, putting up the points. And we joked a little about it yesterday when that quarterback position was the question mark in the preseason. I mean, this is Brian Shore's team.
There's no doubt. I mean, you look at the way he leads the team. It's his team. Everybody in the locker room points to him as the guy, especially offensively. I think Khalid Abdul is another leader, and then Matt Frank up on the offensive line too. But I mean, just in terms of a quarterback, and when you talk about football, you always talk about the quarterback and his team, if it's a significant quarterback, and it is Brian Shore's team. Another good night tonight, a rushing touchdown, a passing touchdown. Didn't have to be great because of how well the running game was going with Khalid Abdullah and Trey Sharp, both of those guys over 140 yards rushing. So, I mean, Shore just had one of his, just another night, it kind of seemed like just another night for him, a strong game again.
And something not to overlook at all is the play of the wide receivers and just how aggressive they were in those 2 long Shore passes, 64 yards to Domo Taylor, 43 yards to Rashard Davis. Those 2 wide receivers, Domo and Davis, those are 50-50 balls, and they went up and won them.
Yeah, it's something that Brian says he's comfortable with doing because those guys, they've proven they can win those one-on-one matchups. You know how we just talked about JMU winning the one-on-one matchups on the other side with their corners against the Sam Houston State wide receivers? It was the complete opposite when JMU had the football. Those guys winning one-on-one battles. Again, you saw it last week against New Hampshire. Short can throw those 50-50 balls because those guys can go up and get it. Taylor and Davis, just another examples after Ravenel and Alls did it last week.
After seeing this team all year, every game but 2, I believe. You didn't go to Maine, you didn't go to New Hampshire. And is it getting better as the season goes on? It seems like something is elevating each game, and here we are, 2 games from the end, and just things keep improving. It looks like. Am I correct in looking and seeing that?
I think the offense has been really good all year. I think there's no doubt that, even against North Carolina back in week 3 in FBS school, JMU put up 21 points in the first quarter. They showed they were capable of doing great things offensively. What's changed, I think, is just how far the defense has come and how much of an impact special teams have had on their games, especially if you look here in the playoffs. You look last week against New Hampshire, they had, Davis had a 40-yard punt return. Brandon Ravenel had a kick return for a touchdown. And then they also got a fake field goal that worked. And then you look this week and they had, it's the blocked punt for a touchdown. And of course, Rashard Davis scoring a touchdown on a punt return. Wouldn't be a blowout without one. So I think, you look at the special teams, and that's just the way it's impacting games, and it makes a difference. It really does. Those are huge momentum swings.
And it was easy to see. I think we talked about it when it happened, and when we saw the replay. He bobbled the initial catch, Davis, on that punt, and I think he made one cut. And you and I both kind of looked at each other and said, "There he goes," and there he went. And it's just couldn't catch him. This team seems pretty confident going in, and we don't know who they're going to play until Saturday evening at some point.
Could be the Bison.
Yeah, you think so?
They've won 5 straight for a reason, and the perennial champions for a reason. I don't know if it'll be them or South Dakota State. South Dakota State, they won earlier in the year in the Fargo Dome, so we'll see.
Most telling stat in the stat sheet, Greg. Take a look. You tell me.
The points, a lot to a little. Is that fair?
That's a fair answer. We'll take it. I was going to go with the first downs. And I know it's only a 10 differential there, but I don't think they got their first down. I don't think Sam Houston didn't get theirs till the score was 21-0. Yeah. And I think that was the difference. That and the fumble there.
Oh, yeah.
That just completely changed the momentum. I mean, the kid was basically 5 yards from the end zone, if even that.
Yeah, you wonder if they get on the board first, is it any different of a game? Is it any more competitive? Probably not.
Well, Greg, thanks for joining us. It's been a long day. It's a late night, and well, that's all. Have a good day. Have a good night, Greg. Let's go to bed.
That's it.